Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All of our guests today, including Ian Furness, standing by, brought to you by the Waddling Dog Pub. After an exciting summer, the Waddling Dog is gearing up for another busy fall season. Come cheer on the Canucks, Lions, Whitecaps, Seahawks, and Mariners, all while enjoying one of their 19 taps, including beer, wine, and cider. Check out the daily happy hour from 4 to 6, every UFC pay-per-view, and attached liquor store and hotel. Also, don't forget to grab some Donnie and Dolly merchandise as well. The Dog is the place to be this sports season. Seahawks now 1-1 after winning in Detroit, overtime 37-31 over the Lions. After laying an egg at home against the Rams in Week 1, they host Carolina on Sunday. Here to talk about that and all things sports in Seattle from KJR Sports Radio and Fox 13, our friend Ian Furness. How are you, sir?
Good, gentlemen. How are you guys?
Very good. Now, I just have to tell you, Ian, and
yes,
for the folks at home, we're having some audio issues. I can't hear you right now. Neither can Rick. So I'm going to use my best lip reading skills here during this interview. So as you finish your answers, just point to me, and then or Rick, and we're good. He's a broadcast veteran. He's seen and heard it all. This will be no problem for him at all. Okay, Ian, the difference between the Seahawks in Week 2, which was impressive, and Week 1, which wasn't.
Well, first of all, this is great because only Ryan can hear me. So what can I say about these two guys? No, listen, the whole thing was weird. Week 1, of all the games I've covered in the Pete Carroll, it might have been one of the worst games I've seen collectively, both sides of the football. They were both sides were not good. They go to Detroit, and maybe they needed energy, guys. Maybe they needed to have a little bit of juice to go on, because I think at the end of the day, for whatever reason, they came out flat Week 1 against the Rams. The crowd was kind of flat at Lumen Field, which rarely, maybe starting to happen a little bit more. Maybe fans are getting a little spoiled. I don't know what the deal is. But they got to Detroit. That place was revved up like never before. The offense got an early score. I thought one of the big keys in the game, they scored early on that first drive. Yes, the Lions came back and answered, but Seattle's offense, which was really the bigger of the two problems in Week 1, got going early on. Geno Smith looked like Geno the first half last year, and then they were good enough to force some turnovers on defense, make a couple big plays, and that's Pete Carroll and Seahawk football over the last couple of years.
I believe our audio issues
good.
Our audio issues have been cleared up. I got to tell you.
Wait, you can hear me? You can hear me now?
Before the audio kicked in for us, and our viewers and listeners at home can hear everything. Yeah. But I got to tell you, when I couldn't hear you, I thought that was your best answer ever. The best you sounded on this show. Incredible.
You can ask Ryan later what I said about you two guys, knowing you couldn't hear me too. So
okay. You mentioned Geno Smith, and I believe you tweeted this out. Just what did he show you in terms of arm strength in Week 2? And not a lot has been said on this show anyway about his arm.
Well, he's got an elite arm, Donnie, in all seriousness. I mean, he's got every quarterback in the NFL has, a level of arm strength that we can't fathom. But, there's just kind of different levels of elite, right? Yeah. And his is through the roof. It's never been an issue. Even when he was with the Jets and he struggled early in his career, the first decade or so as the NFL, it was never the question of, can he get the ball there? It was, what decision was he making before he made that throw? And, I thought there was a 3rd and 6, and he got the 16-yard gain to DK in that overtime period, and it was just a marvelous throw. He stepped into it. DK didn't have the leverage he needed on the inside initially, but Geno trusted him, and I think that was a big key. There was a trust factor in both his ability to get the ball there and DK's ability to make sure that the cornerback didn't cut inside and get an interception. And it didn't look like he had that confidence in the first week against the Rams, but he had it on Sunday. And like I said, in the initial part that you guys didn't hear is that first offensive drive where they went down the field and scored in Detroit. I thought that was huge for not just the team, not just the offense, but for Geno Smith as well, because he made some throws on that drive too. And I think this game, this winning in that environment, I think it could be a nice springboard for this football team.
Ian, hockey is back. I think the 2-day rookie camp has started for the Kraken, but all eyes on Shane Wright. You think he makes it? And if he doesn't, they've now allowed a rule where he could play in the American League next year. But what are your thoughts on Shane Wright right now in the Seattle Kraken?
Well, I think he's got a shot, but he would be a fourth-line player. And I think the question is, do you want to play? Now, Seattle played last year. We saw it. Seattle played its fourth line, maybe more minutes than a lot of most fourth liners play in the NHL. So, he's got a chance. I know people here, the big talk down here, people were upset that the Kraken young guys didn't get invited to Penticton to play with the other guys in their division. That's kind of a bummer, right? But, hey, you know what? You guys want to shun us? That's okay. We'll take it out on you this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think with Shane – I think he'll start, honestly, Rick, in the American Hockey League this year. I don't know if they really want him playing, 9 or 10 minutes a game. I think they can have some other guys to fit in there. Yeah, the rookie camp was yesterday and today. It finishes today. They have media days tomorrow, and then the first day of main camp is coming up on Thursday. So we'll get a better idea then. Things happen, right? Training camp, things happen. You never know what will transpire. Guys get banged up. Maybe there's an opening along the way. But I think that they're going to want him to start in the American Hockey League now that window of opportunity is presented to them. And I think it probably does make sense a little bit. He didn't play a ton. Remember, we've talked about this. Didn't play a ton in the American Hockey League playoffs. He was a fourth-line player on the AHL team. Yeah, he's a fourth-line guy on the AHL team. So I think they want him to get some experience down there.
You know who played a lot in the playoffs for them last yeare was Colin. Colin! Is he going to make it this year?
I think you told me Carson Soucy. Carson Soucy did too.
No, I'm talking about the American League farm team. Colin.
Yeah, I think they like him, Rick. I really do. I think he's one of those guys. Are they going to re-sign him, bring him back? And they did. And hey, listen, it worked out with a former Canuck draft pick, right? Some guy named McCann. You might have heard of him. So. Yeah. I can't get through a show without throwing that over the bow, can I? I can't. But I think Colin's going to be a fourth. Listen, I keep talking about fourth line. Remember, they returned their top 9 forwards from a year ago, and one of those guys, Burakovsky, didn't play after the All-Star break. He had one shift on the island and then got hurt and didn't play the rest of the year of the playoffs. So they returned their top 9 guys. Cartier is going to be on the team more than likely. Cole Lind, I think, will be part of that fourth line as well. That basically what was their fourth line is all gone now. So those are the only 3 forwards they have to replace. They got to figure out what they're going to do in their third pair on defense. But outside of that, man, I think they're going to be. I think they're pretty. They're consistent with what they're going to do. It's if it was up there where people were paying attention to every line combination in training camp and worrying about all those things, it would be really a boring storyline, fellas, to be honest with you, because the only thing that is to be determined is who the backup netminder is. We assume it's going to be Drieger. DeCord will be number 3 down in Coachella, who they re-signed. Martin Jones now gone, obviously, and who's paired on the third. With Schultz on the third pair defense and what the fourth line looks like. I mean, there's not a lot of mystery to what this team is.
Where's the point? I mean, I can hear you now, but I think this should become your signature. Yeah, there you go. Beautiful.
I'm trying to figure which way to point. Who am I pointing to?
Yeah, straight ahead. Yeah, all signs point to Dolly Wall. Did I detect some doubt in your voice or sarcasm when it came to Carson Soucy? What are the Canucks getting here?
I like Carson Soucy. I think I've mentioned it to you before. For some reason, some of the hockey nerds down here, and we've got a few. He was like the scapegoat. Like anytime the puck was in the back of the net or there was a turnover, heck, he wouldn't even be on the ice half the time. They're like, there's Soucy again. I'm like, well, it was Borgen. What are you talking about? Wasn't even Soucy's on the ice, for goodness sakes. I think he's just skilled. I mean, honestly, that became the running joke for some of us. I like Soucy. I think he, first of all, really good kid. You'll enjoy talking to him. He's a great interview. And he's got some skill. Like he really has some skill. He's got a little bit of grit. He can skate. He can shoot. He just was caught in a logjam here. I mean, honestly, if you kind of just look at where they were, their top 4 guys. Alexiak and Borgen was probably their best pairing in the playoffs. Those guys were just shut down hammers. Dunn and Larson, really, really good. And so he's a third pair defenseman here. And I'm not trying to pump up the tires and make this sound like it's, a favorite for the Stanley Cup, but he just was kind of stuck behind some other guys. And he can play. I mean, he can play. And they would have, if he would have, not been a free agent, he'd be here still. Like he would, they'd go with their top 6, all 6 guys they had last year. But he was a free agent. He was going to get paid. Canucks paid him. I'm curious to see who he plays with up there. Who's he paired with the Canucks? Because I think he can play. He's a top 4 guy in my mind.
Yeah, and a lot of the depth charts right now have him playing with Quinn Hughes. By the way, you said
I'll tell you, that would be, honestly, all joking aside, that'd be fun to watch. I think that would be really fun to watch, and it'd be good for Seuss because I think he would help Quinn Hughes quite a bit. at both ends of the ice.
You say is a good interview. Could you set one up for us, if you don't mind? Because the Canucks hate us. The last interview we've had was with Tiger Williams, I think, back in his playing days.
Yeah.
What, in the 80s?
Yeah, that was the last time we got an interview.
I think the last one was Ron Settlebauer.
Yeah.
Well, defenseman, right?
No, Ronnie was
their first 40-goal scorer.
40 goals scored.
Okay. My apologies.
Man.
My
0 for
apologies.
1.
Wow. That's not like me. I'm pretty up on my Canucks trivia, so I feel bad about that.
He was late 70s. Late 70s.
Well, you
guys
point
are both older
either.
than me. You
Yeah.
guys are both older than me, so I'll see what I can do. In fact, I just got a text back from the Canucks. I think, what did they say? Yeah, Richard Brodeur's ready to talk to you guys. You should be on that segment, so.
I wouldn't be surprised. All right, you don't have to do the pointing thing from here on in. We heard you loud and clear, and that's a good thing, Ian.
Was that a Ryan thing? Was this,
100% Henderson.
We're blaming him.
Okay.
100% Henderson.
I mean, honestly, that's what I thought. Either that or you guys had the KJR engineers working on your show today.
Yeah.
You know what this is? We call this at the radio station. We call this a Tuesday. That's what we've been calling it for us. So
You've seen it all. We're blaming Ryan. He's the Carson Soucy of this studio. Okay?
yeah,
he
not
gets
even
all
on
the blame.
ice, but he got a minus for not even being on the ice. So -1 already today. Nice job, Henderson.
Oh, it's outstanding. Like I've said, you've seen it all and you rolled with it, and we thank you for that. And we'll talk to you next week, Ian. Ian Furness, KJR Sports Radio.